April 22, 1945, Berlin. Joseph Goebbels, Nazi Germany's propaganda minister, sat in his office in the Führer bunker. He was surrounded by papers, files, documents, records of 12 years of the Nazi regime. His secretary Wilfried von Oven entered. Her Reichsminister, trucks are ready to evacuate the archives to Bavaria. Goebbels shook his head. No evacuation. Burn them all. Von Oven was surprised. But her Reichsminister, these are historical records, documents of the regime. Exactly why, Goebbels said coldly, they must be burned. All of them. Leave nothing for the Allies. That night, tons of documents were burned. The propaganda ministry's archives, confidential reports, photo collections, film records, all went up in flames. But Goebbels' order wasn't limited to his own ministry. In April-May 1945, the Nazi regime's highest levels conducted a systematic archive destruction campaign. Army records, SS files, Gestapo reports, diplomatic correspondence. Millions of documents were destroyed. Why? What was Goebbels and the Nazi leadership trying to hide? The answer is complex, calculated, and coldly clever. This is the story of history's greatest document destruction operation. Before we continue with the story, please hit the like button. It helps us reach more people with these forgotten stories. If you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications. Now, let's get back to the story. Joseph Goebbels was known as a propaganda genius, but he was also an archival genius. Nobody understood the power of documents, the value of information as a weapon, as well as he did. 1933 to 1939, the record-keeping regime. Nazi Germany was a bureaucracy expert. Everything was recorded. Every Hitler speech was transcribed by stenographers. Every meeting was minuted. Every order was documented. Every propaganda campaign was archived. Goebbels' propaganda ministry was especially meticulous. The photo archive contained 3 million images. The film archive had thousands of hours of footage. Printed propaganda numbered tens of thousands of brochures, posters, books. Why so much recording? 2 reasons. For propaganda, Goebbels was rewriting the past. He was manipulating old photographs, changing historical narratives. To do this, he needed original material. For control, information was power. Who said what? Who did what? Knowing these things provided political power. 1939 to 1942, victory years. In the first years of the war, the Nazi regime won victories. Poland, France, the Balkans, Western Russia, all fell. Goebbels continued documenting these victories. Propaganda films were shot, photographs published, reports archived. These materials were designed as historical proof. Look at the documents to see the greatness of Nazi Germany. 1943 to 1945, defeat and panic. But in 1943, the situation changed. Stalingrad, North Africa, Sicily, defeats began. And suddenly, those documents became a problem, because they now documented failure, not victory. Atrocity, atrocity, but now with shame, not pride. Goebbels wrote in his diary in fall 1943, "The archives are becoming a problem. We recorded too much. If the Allies capture them, they'll use them to convict us." What exactly was Goebbels and the Nazi leadership destroying? Let's categorize. Genocide documents. Most critical, documentation of the Holocaust. The Nazi regime had systematically recorded the Jewish genocide. Why? Bureaucracy and efficiency. Types of documents. Death camp records, how many people came, how many died. Gas chamber construction plans. SS reports, Einsatzgruppen, death squads. Photographs, concentration camps, executions. These documents were direct proof of genocide. If the Allies captured them, Nazi leadership would certainly be tried for war crimes. Example, Wannsee Conference, January 1942. At the Wannsee Conference, Nazi leadership planned the final solution to the Jewish question. Meeting minutes, 15 pages, detailed. In 1945, these minutes had to be destroyed. But fortunately for history, one copy survived. It was used as evidence at Nuremberg. Many other documents vanished. Historians estimate 80% of Holocaust documents were destroyed. War crimes documents. Beyond the Holocaust, Nazi Germany committed countless war crimes. Civilian massacres, Russia, Poland, Yugoslavia. Prisoner torture. Medical experiments, Dr. Mengele. Slave labor programs. These actions were also documented. For example, Wehrmacht reports burning of civilian villages. SS files, deaths in prisoner camps. Gestapo interrogation records. Goebbels knew these documents could be used in war tribunals. Propaganda lies documents. Goebbels was a propaganda minister. His job was to lie. But the problem, he had recorded the lies. Example, Gleiwitz incident, 1939 Nazi Germany wanted a pretext to invade Poland. Goebbels staged a fake incident. SS officers dressed in German uniforms attacked a Gleiwitz radio station on German soil, then acted like Polish terrorists. Hitler used his attack. Poland attacked us. We must counterattack. But in Goebbels' archives, the real plan was recorded. Operation Himmler, false flag attack. In 1945, these documents had to be destroyed because they proved Germany started the war by fabricating a pretext. Hitler's private life documents. Goebbels was deeply loyal to Hitler, and he wanted to protect Hitler's reputation. Problem: the propaganda ministry knew everything about Hitler. Drug addiction. Dr. Morell was giving him 20-plus medications daily. Health problems, private relationships, paranoid episodes. This information was documented. Meeting notes, doctor reports, diaries. Goebbels wanted Hitler's perfect leader, image preserved. So documents showing the truth had to be destroyed. Intra-regime conflict documents. The Nazi regime appeared united from the outside, but inside there was chaos. Göring versus Goebbels for propaganda control. Himmler versus Bormann for Hitler's ear. Wehrmacht versus SS for military control. These conflicts were on record. Angry letters, complaint reports, conspiracies. Goebbels wanted the Nazi regime to go down in history as united, disciplined. Internal chaos documents had to be destroyed. April 1945, Berlin. The Soviet army was approaching the city. German defeat was inevitable. Goebbels activated his systematic destruction plan. April 10th, first orders. Goebbels called a high-level meeting. Propaganda ministry officials, SS representatives, Wehrmacht staff. Goebbels spoke plainly. Germany is losing. In weeks, the Allies will be in Berlin. They'll capture everything. We cannot allow this. Participants were silent. Everyone knew what this meant. Destroy all sensitive documents. Goebbels ordered. Propaganda ministry archives, SS files, Wehrmacht reports. Nothing must remain. Oberfuhrer Werner Naumann asked, Herr Reichsminister, the historical record will be lost. Goebbels replied coldly, History is written by the victors. If we lose, documents will convict us. Do you prefer the gallows over historical record? Silence. Carry out the order. Goebbels finished. April 15th to 20th, burning begins. In Berlin and other Nazi-controlled cities, bonfires started, but not for celebration, for destruction. Propaganda Ministry, Berlin. Photo archive burned 3 million images. Film records burned 10,000 plus hours. Press clippings, 12-year collection of newspapers. SS headquarters, Berlin. Gestapo files, records of millions of people. Concentration camp documents. Einsatzgruppen reports, death squad records. Wehrmacht archive, Potsdam. Operational plans. War crime reports. Civilian massacre records. For days non-stop, fires burned. The sky filled with ash. April 20th to 25th, panic accelerates. The Soviets surrounded Berlin. Time was running out. Destruction became more urgent. No longer just burning, but shredding, burying, sinking. Every method was used. Examples. Some documents were thrown into the Spree River with weights. Some documents were buried in rubble of bombed buildings. Some documents were shredded and dumped into sewers. And the most critical documents, the files Goebbels personally controlled, they were burned by hand. Inside the Führer bunker, ashes scattered. April 30th, Hitler's suicide. Hitler committed suicide. Goebbels was still alive for one more day. On that last day, Goebbels burned one more thing, parts of his own diaries. Which parts? The most dangerous ones. Hitler's collapse, the regime's inside story, the real plans. But interesting, Goebbels tried to preserve 80% of his diaries. Why? Because he saw them as historical documents, telling the true story. Contradiction. Destroy others' documents, but preserve your own. Goebbels' ego remained strong to the end. May 1st, Goebbels' suicide. Goebbels and his wife poisoned their 6 children, then shot themselves. The bodies were burned, and thus the brain of the destruction operation ended. But the operation continued by other Nazi officials throughout May. Goebbels wasn't alone. Every branch of the Nazi regime participated in archive destruction. Heinrich Himmler, SS and Gestapo files. Himmler, SS Reichsfuhrer, was perhaps the man with the most to hide. The SS was the primary implementer of the Holocaust. April 1945, Himmler panicked. He tried to negotiate secretly with the Allies without Hitler's knowledge. Failed. Then he gave orders. Destroy 100% of SS archives. Nothing must remain. Destroyed SS documents. Concentration camp death records, Auschwitz, Treblinka, etc. Medical experiment reports, Mengele, Rasher. Euthanasia program documents, T4 program, killing of disabled. Himmler succeeded. 90% of SS documents were destroyed. What remained were a few camps and offices the Allies captured. Hermann Göring, Luftwaffe and plunder records. Göring, Luftwaffe commander and economic dictator, had a different problem. Plunder records. Göring had stolen art from all over Europe, paintings, sculptures, antiques worth billions, and he recorded everything as a bureaucrat. April 1945, Göring gave orders. Destroy, plunder records. Make it unclear where the art collection came from. Most were destroyed, but some lists survived. The Allies raided Göring's Caron estate, found documents. Martin Bormann, Hitler's secretary and internal correspondence. Bormann was Hitler's shadow. He knew everything, recorded everything. Bormann's archives contained Hitler's private orders written, intra-regime conspiracy documents, financial records, where did the Nazi Party's billions of Reichsmarks go? April 1945, Bormann destroyed most of his archives, but he tried to send some copies to Bavaria for safekeeping. May 1945, Bormann died while trying to escape or committed suicide. The documents sent to Bavaria, most were never found. Joachim von Ribbentrop, Foreign Ministry. Ribbentrop, Foreign Minister, wanted to destroy diplomatic correspondence, especially secret protocols of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, division of Poland and Baltic states, secret agreements with other countries. Ribbentrop was partially successful, but the Allies raided the Foreign Ministry. Many documents were captured. Ribbentrop was tried at Nuremberg, hanged. Goebbels was smart. The destruction decision wasn't impulsive. It was calculated. His motivations. Legal protection, war crimes prosecution. Goebbels knew. The Allies' Casablanca Conference, 1943, declared unconditional surrender and war crimes prosecution. So if we lose, we'll be tried. And conviction requires evidence. Documents equals evidence. Goebbels' logic. No documents equals no crime, at least no proof. Naive? Yes and no. Goebbels knew there would be enough witnesses, but he also knew the power of documents. Witnesses can lie, can't remember. Documents are irrefutable. Strategy. Destroy documents. Give lawyers a chance at defense. History control. Victor's history. Goebbels' famous quote, "History is written by the victors." But detail. They need material to write with. Goebbels thought, if documents are destroyed, the Allies can only tell their own narrative. The Nazi perspective is lost. This was important for Goebbels. As a propaganda master, narrative control was everything. Vision. Without documents, future generations will know Nazi Germany only through Allied propaganda. The true story is lost. Of course, The true story was Holocaust and war crimes. But in Goebbels' mind, this would be Allied distortion. Image protection, Nazi mythology. Goebbels spent 12 years building the Führer myth. Hitler as perfect leader, Germany's righteous cause, Nazi regime disciplined and strong. Documents showed the truth. Hitler indecisive and delusional. Germany started an unjust war. Nazi regime chaotic and brutal. Goebbels wanted, preserve the myth, at least partially. Strategy, destroy the most incriminating documents, especially documents showing Hitler's mental collapse, documents showing inter-regime conflicts, documents confessing propaganda lies. What remained? Less damaging. The Allies would find evidence, yes, but the worst details would be lost. Protection for future Nazi movements. Goebbels was preparing to commit suicide, but he didn't want Nazi ideology to die. Vision. Someday new generations will rediscover Nazi ideas. But for this, a clean history was needed. Documents were too incriminating, indefensible for future Nazis. Solution: destroy the worst documents. Make the ideal narrative possible. Nazi Germany lost the war, but the ideals were noble. This was long-term thinking, and it partially worked. Post-war neo-Nazi movements do exactly this. Deny, minimize, reinterpret. Personal ego, Goebbels' own image. Goebbels saw himself as a historical figure, great leader, propaganda genius, Hitler's loyal follower. But in the documents, his failures, lies, manipulations, personal weaknesses. Goebbels wanted to go down in history as a hero of tragedy, loyal to Hitler until the end. Documents he destroyed, documents showing his own mistakes, fears, doubts. Documents he preserved, heroic sections of his own diaries. Ego transcends everything, even death. Nazi officials used sophisticated destruction methods. Fire burning, most common method. Advantage, fast, definitive, destroys much material. Techniques, in furnaces, industrial furnaces, bread ovens. In open fires, in courtyards, in bomb buildings. In special burning rooms, propaganda ministry's basement. Problem, ash residue. Even at high temperatures, some document fragments can survive. The Allies later examined ash piles, found partially readable fragments. Chemical destruction, more sophisticated. SS especially used it. Method, documents were immersed in acid solutions, sulfuric acid. Paper completely dissolved. Advantage, no residue. Total annihilation. Disadvantage, slow, dangerous, not practical for large volumes. SS reserved this method for the most sensitive documents, Gestapo files, concentration camp records. Shredding and dispersal. Some documents were shredded by hand or machine, then dispersed. Methods, dumped into sewers, thrown into rivers sunk with weights, mixed into rubble of bomb buildings. Advantage, fast, large volumes. Disadvantage, not 100% effective. Some pieces can be found, reassembled. The Allies post-war pulled document bags from the Spree River. Water damaged but partially readable. Burial. Nazi officials buried some documents, perhaps to recover in the future. Locations. In Bavarian mountains, secret depots. In Austrian salt mines that lie in gardens of private properties. Purpose. Post-war recovery. Maybe if Nazi movements rise again, documents could be useful. Result, some of these buried archives were found by Allies or later diggers. Some are still missing, maybe still there, waiting to be found. Microfilm and secret copies. Interesting. Some Nazi officials microfilmed documents before destroying them. Why? 2 reasons. Insurance. If needed in the future, evidence exists for their own defense. Historical record. Some officials genuinely wanted to preserve history. Known examples. Ribbentrop's secretary microfilmed some foreign ministry documents, tried to hide them. Allies found them. Some Wehrmacht officers copied war reports for military history. These secret copies became important post-war discoveries. How did Goebbels' destruction operation affect history? Historical uncertainty. Without documents, Historians can't give definitive answers. Examples: Holocaust beginning. When did Hitler approve the final solution? Some historians, some are 1941. Others. Fall 1941. Some. There was never a written order, only verbal. If documents existed, there would be a definitive answer. Hitler's health. How sick was he? How did medications affect decision-making ability? Most of Dr. Morell's records were destroyed. What remains? Partial, unclear. Nazi gold. Where did the stolen wealth go? Billions of Reichsmarks missing. Records destroyed. Now only theories. Facilitated Holocaust denial. Tragic side effect. Lack of documents strengthened deniers. Deniers' argument. There's no written proof of systematic plan. No signed order from Hitler. Truth. Yes, because Goebbels destroyed it. But deniers uses logic. No documents equals no event. Of course, there's abundant evidence. Witnesses, survivors, found documents, the concentration camps themselves. But document destruction gave deniers propaganda material. Continuation of Nazi mythology. One of Goebbels' goals. Preserve the Nazi myth. He partially succeeded. Post-war neo-Nazi movements use. Clean Wehrmacht legend. Army didn't participate in war crimes. Hitler didn't know theory. Subordinates were guilty. Holocaust was exaggerated claim. All these myths can be refuted with surviving documents. But if there were more documents, it would be easier. Complicated historical research. Historians struggled to fill gaps. Methods, witness testimonies, powerful but subjective, less reliable than documents. Cross-reference, assemble pieces from different sources. Time-consuming, uncertain. Archaeological evidence, excavate concentration camps, find physical evidence. Useful but limited. Result, the history of Nazi Germany is still a research topic. 80 years later, new discoveries are still happening. Joseph Goebbels died on May 1st, 1945, but the archive destruction operation was largely successful. His success: millions of documents destroyed, Nazi leadership's darkest secrets lost, created historical uncertainty, strengthened Holocaust deniers. His failure: enough documents survived for Nuremberg convictions. Allies found sufficient evidence, witnesses spoke. Truth emerged delayed, but it emerged. Goebbels' legacy: Goebbels is remembered as a propaganda genius, but also a historical manipulation genius. The archive destruction operation was his final propaganda act. If I can't control the truth, then I'll destroy it. It partially worked, but not completely. Lesson for historians: never forget missing documents. Every historical analysis is incomplete. Destroyed documents are like ghosts, invisible but still affecting. Use multiple sources. Don't rely only on documents. Witnesses, archaeology, cross-reference. Combine all. Acknowledge gaps. Saying I don't know is honesty. If there are no documents, confession, not speculation. Lesson for modern leaders: transparency. Preserve documents. Avoid questions later. Accountability. Even bad news should be documented. Hiding is worse later. Digital security. Backup, protect, archive documents. In the digital age, loss is avoidable. Lesson for society: memory matters. History isn't just the past. It's warning for the future. Demand documents. Government should be transparent. Secret shouldn't be standard. Support archivists, libraries, archives, digital preservation. These are societal memory. Goebbels tried to destroy archives, tried to control history, tried to protect the Nazi regime. He failed. Truth emerged. Maybe not completely, maybe delayed, but it emerged because truth is durable. Documents can be burned, but memory, witnesses, physical evidence, these remain. And most importantly, people are determined to seek truth. Goebbels didn't understand this. Master propaganda, but ignorant of human nature. Truth can be buried, but never forever. If this story affected you, please hit the like button. Every like helps us reach more people with these forgotten stories. Thanks for watching.